Hey guys, I'm Jax, and this is my spoiler review for the third last episode of The Boys Ever. Season 5, Episode 6. And oh boy, is this another episode of The Boys. Do you want them to surface level touch on some really fascinating and complex themes of aging and being irrelevant and losing the thing that made you think you were important to the world, but having time slowly tear that away from you, and the fear and the horror and the inevitability of aging and the inherent horror of that, but then mostly sidelining that so that an old guy can be like, I used to fuck, and trying to derive humor from that for like what felt like 6 hours, but apparently it was only 42 and a half minutes of just, that guy from Aliens. Back in the day, we were like, corporate goon, just awful government man. But more recently, people might know him from Stranger Things. We're like, hey, he's the nice grandpa. But now he's that creepy, awful grandpa who's always saying really disgusting, gross things to younger women, and he doesn't really realize, maybe he realizes what he's doing, but it doesn't really... I don't want to go full Walter White, but there does appear to be a fly in my room. I don't know if the camera caught it, but... Had a cold open, had a whole thing about how the show is kind of, wasting its potential and old and, Ironically, it's telling this amazingly thematically rich episode about Homelander fearing aging and instead just, resorts to the same cheap, lazy, at this point, painfully repetitive and, ironically, for the themes of the episode, childish, amateur humor. Humor that has become, at best, passable, and at worst, grating to the point of being aggressively unfunny. Which, for jokes, kind of the worst place you want to be. But that actually speaks to the inherent issues with The Boys Season 5, in that there's such rich, complex ideas and themes, and I can feel a really great final season of a show I did love. Season 1 to 3, love. Season 4, not so much. 5, maybe better than 4, but is it? I don't know. It feels like it's gotten lost in being a satire. Somehow it's too obvious, yet it's not even enough. Like it's meant to be this parody satire of what if Superman was evil, but also Trump and the president and all of that. Right-wing America, oh, we don't like it. I'm Eric Kripke. And it's like, okay... But you haven't gone hard enough. Some of the jokes in this episode were just like, popcorn buckets, cinema? And it's like, what? I am mildly amused. You get a mild kind of, of seeing the deep in his mouth is all like, and it's like, you put your dick in his mouth or whatever. And there's a popcorn bucket, and it's like, yeah, but Deadpool has done that in the real world. In the world I live in, Deadpool did that. So, the Deep doing that isn't really, satire or a parody. You're just kind of, doing this. You're just doing it. It's not even anything, really. I just don't... Yeah, I don't know. There's just something... The satire feels like it was so relevant and current and ahead of the times. And now it somehow is, 2 years late. I don't really know how that happened. Everything just feels so, antiquated and 2 years ago, and I'm just kind of did they write this 3 years ago and take somehow 2 years to make it? It sure as fuck doesn't look like that, because every action scene looks as good as Heroes did in season 3, which came out 2011, it's no, that would have been 2009, because 2008 had the writer's strike and season 2 was short. I have memory for a very specific time before thematically relevant time crushed my soul and my hair and, my spirit. But, like this episode, And like the boys, I will not deep dive into the rich, complex, emotional juice that is so fascinating and interesting. Instead, what a fart joke, but blood. Because the boys. But blood. Oh, the boys. So much of this episode I did really enjoy. You whittle down the rock and find the little diamond. What this episode was trying to do emotionally, thematically, I found deeply fascinating. I didn't find it relevant to myself because despite how I look, actually very young. Young and fruitful. Not old, not contemplating the wasted years, not contemplating how I don't have... I'm not old. It's just... I don't even... Genuinely, I think there's some amazing emotional moments. Old man McFucks McGee has that scene with Homelander where Homelander, at the end of it, lets him live. Really good. And like, that was the moment where like, just their conversation, I just went, fuck me, that is the show I wish I was watching. Like that 3 to 5 minute scene was so powerful and emotional. And I hated this character. And I just love him as an actor. But man, yeah, in this episode, I just found his... And I remember vaguely, he had like a cameo in like season 3, where he's like, I do cocaine, and and he just like referenced some lady and be like, I sucked her titties and did cocaine off them or whatever. And it's like, yeah, like you get like a cameo for 2 minutes where everyone's like, oh, this old guy. But like, I don't know. And it sometimes it feels unfair, but at the same time, it's like, this is the third last episode of your show. And you've spent so much time with Mole Man earlier in this season complaining about final seasons and being like, final season's so hard. Oh, we've got 100 million characters and we've got spin-offs we're spinning around and we've got, with all this, just so much stuff to do. How can I, what can one do? Well, one can not spend 10 minutes in the previous episode on a dog eating chocolate cake. One could maybe not spend 25 minutes of this episode of an old guy who's been in like 16 minutes of the show before this, just being like, I fucked. All these old people in this room, I fucked them. And like the same joke again. And it's like, it wasn't funny the first time. So when you get to the 3rd to 6th time he's said the same joke, it's like, I don't know, man. Like, what are we doing? This is the 3rd last episode of the show. I would be critical of this if this was season 4 or season 5, but we knew there was a season 6 coming. Like, I would be I would be very critical of this as an episode and as a plot, but because it's the 3rd last episode, double it. ×2. So this entire season has felt like it's just spinning its wheels and doing nothing with this V1 plot. Just feels real like, just like not a interesting, like doesn't have that forward momentum, like agency of like a final season where everything is ramping up and building up and you're moving. It's just like everyone's just like, oh, where's the V1? They're just like drunkenly stumbling to the finish line. So at the end of this episode, super exciting, super amazing that Soulja Boy gives it to Homelander. Last week when we had the big supernatural reunion, was super amazing to see Soulja Boy kind of admit to himself that he is, at least in some way, a good father. And in just that he is proud of Homelander in some way. He's just not like disgusted by him in every single way, which we kind of thought. And he's just kind of like a bit proud in some way of what? Hard to say. But I guess that's just like the classic parent, where the parent sees a kid and they get the participation trophy. And they're like, shit, man, I don't know. Good enough. So it's like that. If the participation trophy was, conquering the whole world with your fascism, and your dad's like, well, you he showed up. I reckon some other dad's kids didn't show up and they suck. Probably aren't as racist. And so I didn't like it earlier on in the episode where Soulja Boy was like, hey, I saw this video and now I don't like you anymore. And you're like, I feel like we'd come past that and we'd gone to a really interesting territory with the characters. Now it's all just like reverted and erased. I don't love that. So the twist at the end where it's like, hey, V1, inject that bad boy into your veins. Really cool, really exciting. And finally, this meandering nothing plot that has been the final season of The Boys of like, oh, we got to get the V1. And they just fetch quest all over the place doing whatever. Finally, that is over. And we can finally ramp up and build up the way the final 2 episodes of a show should feel. And in a lot of ways, I feel like these last 2 episodes, if they're going to deliver on the promise of the show, will be what the entire final season should have been. I still don't really believe that this final last 2 episodes, because I've seen the first 6 and I just don't have faith, unfortunately, they will not deliver on the promise of Homelander burning and killing that crowd of people that they did in like season 2 or something, like way ago, where you do that as a dream sequence. That's a promise to the audience that when we get to the end game, we're in the end game now, of The Boys, when we go full Doctor Strange endgame, you have to commit to the things you promised at the start. It's Chekhov's gun. You check off to Homelander killing a bunch of people. You killed one guy at the end of season 3, and that's kind of the peak of it. I feel like it kind of fizzled out after that. They were like afraid to like push it. It's like they were afraid to do more, and it's like, I don't want to see him kill people, but like you have evil Superman as your main character, as your main villain. You have to commit. Like, you have to do something with that. You can't have the scene in season 1 with the plane be the craziest thing we've ever seen with Homelander. Because it's like, I thought that was going to be part 1. Now we're at the end, at Act 5, part 3. And we've really never hit that moment of just like, oh, can you imagine if Superman was real? But a real fucking asshole, just awful guy, raised wrong, brought up wrong. They've just kind of, like, they did it for a bit. Then they've just kind of floundered. And they've gotten stuck with their kind of satire, political kind of references. They're just like, oh, wouldn't it be crazy if like the president was a guy I didn't like? I was like, I'm not saying I don't like him either. We all don't like him. We all live in the world we live in, and we all have thoughts and opinions on the real world. But the show was so much more than that. I remember in the first 3 seasons, people were like, Homelander's just like a Trump allegory. And I always felt that was like not understanding the show at all. And now, unfortunately, that does feel like they've just kind of copped out, lazied out, cheapened out, and just kind of just fallen into that. And they haven't been able to expand beyond what that could be, which I find quite disappointing. But maybe those last 2 episodes will blow my mind. But yeah, found it all to be a little underwhelming and disappointing, despite having a fantastic scene with Guy from Stranger Things / Aliens and Homelander, where they both went, man, being old sucks. And I was like, yeah, I don't, yeah. That doesn't emotionally resonate with me at all. Other things in this episode, I don't know, that religious guy and Starlight had a fight, and it's like, couldn't find 2 fucking guys with worse powers in the world. Oh my god, he's like guy with slightly loud breath, which is like, bah! And his voice does mild voice waves, and Starlight just, what the fuck are her powers, man? Her eyes light up like she's gonna do something, and then the lights like flicker, like she just fucks with electricity for like 10 seconds, and she just kind of heats up. She can fly, but like how? And just whatever, I don't care. She sucks. She's just, yeah. She had a great scene with her father a few episodes ago, but outside of that, man, crazy how much time we're spending with other characters and whatever, instead of like, you know, her, Huey, cast. They have a cutesy scene with them sitting and watching like the clouds, but it's just not well written. It's just like, it just evolves, and she's like, oh, I see dicks in the sky, and he's like, oh, you see a lot of dicks. And it's like, this is the 3rd last episode, guys. We are steeping dangerously close to Game of Thrones territory, where early on Tyrion could make a dick joke, and you'd be like, that's pretty well written. That's pretty funny. And then you get to season 6 to 8, and it's just like, dicks, 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 dicks. And you're like, well, that wasn't like the only thing he said. It was like he would be like really politically savvy and really clever and funny for the moment, and like to really kind of like hands-on situation type kind of read the room and play the room, and he'd be a very clever guy. And like out of the 20 things he'd say, one of them will be a dick joke, and that would be kind of funny because you're like, oh, he's kind of irreverent and funny, and he's like kind of like crass, and people don't like that, and that kind of throws them off. So then when he hits them with like the political Tyrianness, it works. Whereas if he's just like, what if dick joke the whole time, that's not anything. So yeah, am I saying Eric Kripke was somehow George R.R. Martin and now has devolved into D&D? Yeah, fuck. I guess I am. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all the YouTubey things, and most importantly, what did you guys think of the third last episode of The Boys? Oh boy, does it not feel like that at all. Big yays, big nays, or for the first time on the internet, a nuanced opinion.